What gave you the confidence to actually build this thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think we both interned on Wall Street and we saw how conversations around money and investing are just limited to a certain group of people, especially saw amongst our friends. These conversations were not happening, which is so frustrating because we all work so hard to get a good job. But if you don't really know how to put your money to work, you can't really build wealth over time. So we found that to be incredibly frustrating, and we wanted to bring people who are on the fringes of these conversations into the mainstream with investing. And so we set out to build Alinea, and fun fact, we started it as a college class project.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unusual to start something that moves into from kind of class project through to real life. Can you talk about the process? Like, when did you actually realize it was something that you were going to pursue beyond class?
Yeah. We couldn't stop thinking about it post class. So we were always I mean, Anam was working in investment banking at the time. I was working in a growth stage startup, and we were talking about it on the phone after work. We were texting all the time about it. We were meeting up on the weekends, working on this idea to really bring Alinea to life. And it was when we got into Y Combinator, actually, that we kind of took the first step into building out the application and into building out the company. And that was in 2021.
So that was when it became real, the Y Combinator, going through that experience. And then talk to me about what both of you do. Like, one of you is more product, one of you is more growth. How do you is it just by chance you happen to be focused on different kind of skill sets, or that was part of how it came together?
Yeah, so Eve and I have always been very aligned on the vision, and we both bring like complementary skill sets. So while I was doing investment banking, Eve was working at a growth state startup and really getting that startup experience. And so, yeah, I focus on product, Eve focuses on growth. And as most of the world's successful companies do, we try to tie those two together really well and make sure one feeds into the other.
Yeah, I feel like you're very you're a very close pair. Were you friends beforehand, like properly friends, or you came together then?
No, he isn't. I asked Eve to be my my partner for this project. I just thought, I'm like, do you want to be my partner? You could have chosen to do it alone or do it with a partner in class, and I'm glad I did that.
It's amazing. I mean, it kind of shows the kind of serendipity of how things work, doesn't it? Um, yeah, every time I see you, you seem like, so close and so always together. What's your secret for always getting on? You know, how do you think this has worked?
It's like with any relationships, I think even with like finding a significant other, like when it clicks, it just clicks. And I think that that's what that's the relationship we had from the beginning. It just clicked. Like we were always we were always complementary and working well together, and it just worked naturally. And I think that was the beauty of how it started and how it's still going. I think we're both like I'll say let's do this, and Eve will be like yes, let's do it, and then Eve will say something, I'll be like yes, and I think we've just continued to enable each other to get to this point. So
That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite unusual to fall into something that just starts to work and keeps building. I've spoken to a lot of founders that have had partnership issues. What do you think what I mean, like, again, I'm always as someone that is old, I'm always like just so blown away by people that have started, done something so ambitious so young. Is it what do you think in your upbringing or in who you are has made you kind of entrepreneurial?
yeah, why don't you go? Look, I think a good skill set that we both have is that we're always willing to take a risk. Like we don't like the traditional path. We from the beginning, and with during COVID was like, let's put our jobs, apply to YC, and kind of see where life takes us. And I was like, let's do it. We've always been big risk takers, and that's why we've been able to get to this point today, is because we take risks. And where you can't really get to this to doing this without being able to risk everything.
Yeah. I think that's obviously an important thing. And then in terms of more practical stuff, what were the kind of key milestones that helped you take it from an idea, from going through Y Combinator into starting the business proper?
Yeah, I'll say I think the most important thing is really understanding the problem and who you're building for. And luckily enough, we had experienced the problem and we were building for us selfishly, right? Like this is a product we wish we had when we had graduated college or gotten our first paycheck from our internship. And so what we were really good at is just understanding our market. We'd spoken to thousands of people and conducted thousands of customer interviews before we even built out the app. So, and building a company sounds really tricky, but at its core, especially for a tech startup, you're hoping to add value or solve a problem that exists in the real world. And for us, this was such an overlooked problem that is so significant and impactful, right? Like financial health to this day, it is getting more and more complex as we get more technology, as we get more information. And so I think what we really knew well was our audience and the problem that we had to solve.
Yeah, so the kind of built by Gen Z for Gen Z. And how did you do? I mean, a really silly question, but how did you do thousands of interviews before starting?
Yeah, so luckily enough, since we started as a college class project, like one of the little requirements was like go like talk to people, see if this problem exists. So we started and very naturally started talking to all of our friends. I was like, hey, do you invest in the stock market? And they're like, no, I'm freaked out by it. I was like, okay, well, like what freaks you out? And then we went all across our campus, spoke to people of like all ages and backgrounds, and just found the same story over and over again, especially with females, right? It's the same story. It's like, I want to invest. I'm scared. I don't know how to start. Or whether if you're a child of immigrants and you're like, hey, the stock market was considered gambling in my household, but I know I have to do this. How do I start? So we just kept hearing the same story over and over again. And we're like, oh, wait, this is a recurring problem. And we really want to build a solution for this.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So the same obstacles coming up, people being scared, not knowing what to do. And obviously you've created this, community platform with education. It's guided with personalized strategies. What else was important to you to actually create a product that served this consumer and was different from, things like Robinhood or other kind of more general?
Yeah, it actually came again from a user pain point, which was, I don't know how to get started. I don't know how much to invest. And so what's different with us is the onboarding is very well thought through. We spent over a year of thinking and building the onboarding of the app. And when you download the Alinea app, you have our AI Ally, which is our AI coach that guides you and asks you a few questions about yourself, and then will personalize an investing strategy based on what your risk tolerance is, where you live, what your age is, what city you live in, etc. And then we'll also recommend an amount that you should be investing every month. So we have a handheld onboarding that feels like you have a personal wealth advisor guiding you through making your first investment. And when we unlocked that, basically our conversion tripled and we found a willingness to pay for our services. And so the onboarding was really critical to making Alinea successful.
How do you think, this Gen Z or younger think about money differently from previous generations?
Yeah, I think they're way more knowledgeable and aware. I think if we were building this 20 years ago, there was the challenge of convincing people that investing is important, especially young people. And I think after everything that happened with GameStop and news cycles and social media, what the younger generation knows is they have to take charge of their finances early on in life. And so it is something that Gen Z knows they have to do. The question is, how do I start? Where do I start? How much do I start with?
Yeah. And I know that I feel like your, how you market, how you think about the product also kind of takes into account your users' lifestyles and aspirations. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about your users' aspirations and desires and the whys behind why they invest?
Yeah, so one thing that I think even while we were doing this as a class project, what we were really excited about is building a brand around investing and money. That really feels authentic, that is exciting, that's modern, because we didn't really see that, right? When you look at any of the traditional banks, like they're great, they're trustworthy, but there's no fun brand around it. And so investing is scary because first of all, it's boring and it's technical and it's complex. And it's like, well, what if we just flip this on its head and say, this is fun, this is aspirational, this fits in with your lifestyle. And that's what really excites us even to this day is redefining what investing means. And actually tangent, but the word Alinea means a new chapter. And so for us, Alinea Invest is a new chapter in investing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in our marketing, we also we use a lot of trends. So we're making it relevant by saying like, hey, girl math free written is, etc. And then we're also selling a lifestyle. So like, do you want to retire a millionaire? These are the steps that you need to do when you're younger. This is how you should be investing every month. And so we make it much more applicable to the lifestyle and the goals that they want to have instead of just focusing on product features.
Yeah. So speaking Gen Z, very social first. Just out of interest, as I'm a strategist, do you have like a brand strategy, like a framework? It's written down, codified. Do you have like what your North Star is or your positioning?
No, but I think there's nothing that formal, but like we really lean into like vibes, for lack of better word. Like you're vibe coding, and I think vibe marketing is very adjacent. Yeah. So it's like, okay, let's put something out there. What's resonating? What's the vibe of this? Let's lean into it, right? And so yeah, I don't think a lot of other consumer fintech brands are focusing on like the vibes of their marketing. It's usually all very technical. Like, hey, we're gonna give you $1,000 or we're gonna do this. So for us, it's really important that people feel a sense of community and authenticity.
And on the point of vibes, one of our best ads right now running on Meta is a tweet basically from a Gen Z customer that's saying, I toss in $100 a week into this app. It's a stupid, easy app. It's like wording like that. That's very like vibey and relatable to this generation. That really works.
Yeah. Do you find that you have to kind of think about how to also balance expertise or trust, or you don't have to think about that at all? People trust you because it's there. You have returns, you have testimonials. Like, do you have to think about that, or it's mainly vibes?
Well, people trust us because we have over 30,000 ratings on the App Store with a 4.8 rating. So we have one of the highest ratings on the App Store compared to other fintechs. They know that we have over 1 million downloads at this point. So I think the trust comes through that form as well. I think Gen Zs are way more willing to try out new products and tell their friends about new products than other generations as well. And that's definitely helped us flow faster.